Hi there, welcome back to another Crypto Dave video. It's Friday, which means another crypto interest rates and news update. Today is the 2nd of April 2021, and today we're just going to do a very brief update video. Basically, last week we talked about the upcoming changes to BlockFi. So this is the spreadsheet here that I try and keep track of all the different kind of rates from these different providers. So we look at BlockFi, Cryptocom, Celsius Network, Ledden and Nexo.io. And in last week's video we talked in depth about the new bands and the new rates offered by BlockFi. And then just after last week's video, so I think it was either later that day or the day after, Ledden announced their changes, which again went live on the 1st of April. So this is not an April Fool's joke, anything like that. But I just really want to talk in a little bit more detail now that all the kind of rates for all the big kind of providers are up and available. Just really wanted to talk through those kind of changes. And just after that, the only real story I also wanted to mention this week, so I really want to concentrate on the kind of rate changes and potentially where you should be kind of putting your kind of crypto and stuff like that. But the only other story I really wanted to briefly cover this week was Cryptocom. So for those of you who are using the card and are in the UK, you will be aware that the UK bank account has been down basically since January. So for 3 months this has been down, but it's now been re-enabled. It's available via the faster payment service. So if you are in the UK, you can transfer money. I did it for the first time today, so it's a brand new bank details. Make sure you don't try and use the old one. So it's a brand new banking details. I did a faster transfer today, and today is a bank holiday in the UK. Friday the 2nd of April, but it went through in about an hour or so, so a little bit longer than maybe some faster transfers, but it did go through within an hour or two. So that's now available. Check the wallet. You may need to update to the latest version of the app before it becomes available, but if you are in the UK and you are using the Crypto.com credit card, you can now top it up via bank transfer. So that's what I really wanted to mention on that. We'll take a very quick look at the tokens, and then we'll go back rather than normal. We'll go back to the rates in a second. So and token price is another pretty poor week for Celsius Network, down 2% on the week, so not a massive loss or anything like that, but Bitcoin and Ethereum have been pretty positive this last week. So Celsius Network's been treading water, stagnating a little bit, I think, over the last sort of 3 months, since the end of last year when they had that really big run up in price over $5 odd, maybe it was even over $6 at one point, but it's been sort of treading water ever since. On the other hand, Crypto.com and Nexo both had pretty positive weeks. Crypto.com up 11.9%, Nexo up 14.9%. So after a few weeks, I think, across the board of everything being pretty static and sort of like fluctuating up and down and sort of trading within a range, a little bit of a more positive news for Crypto.com in particular, which has had a pretty poor few months up until recently. Nexo also maintaining its kind of relatively kind of positive kind of like trend. So be interested to see what happens with Celsius Network. They had that massive run up at the end of last year, but since then, as I said, it's trended sideways or even a little bit kind of down. So it'll be interesting to see if they have any new features, any new news or anything like that coming out with Celsius Network. So let's jump back into the rates, and I just want to make sure that everybody is completely aware of all the kind of rate changes and stuff like that. Now I will be going over the weekend once Celsius announced their new rate changes for the next week and making any small changes here. But the big news, as we mentioned last week, was the BlockFi changes, so we'll go through those and then the Ledden changes. So basically BlockFi previous to the 1st of April had two tiers for Bitcoin. So they had a 0 to 2.5 Bitcoin, and you earn 6% on the first 2.5 Bitcoin, and then you earn 3% on all your Bitcoin over and above that. Now they've now introduced 3 tiers for Bitcoin and 3 tiers for Ethereum. About a year ago there was a 2-tier Ethereum system. They got rid of that and you earned the same amount for all your Ethereum, but they've brought back the tiers now to Ethereum as well. Litecoin remains unchanged at 6.5%, Chainlink at 5.5%, and all their stable coins and Pax Gold remain unchanged no matter how much you put into them. I imagine if people started depositing huge amounts in Chainlink or Litecoin or something like that, they may introduce kind of bans, but for now it's just Bitcoin and Ethereum. And basically the first ban, unfortunately, is just the first Bitcoin. So up to 1 Bitcoin you earn 6%, no change in the rates there. Between 1 and 20 Bitcoins you earn 2%, and 20 or more Bitcoins you are only earning 0.5%, so just 0.5% on 20 or more Bitcoins. And the rates for Ethereum, so the first 100 Ethereum you're earning 5.25%. That's exactly the same as it was before. Between 100 and 1,000 Ethereum you're earning 2%, same as a Bitcoin, and then 1,000 Ethereum or more only 0.5% as well, in line with the Bitcoin kind of rates. Now Ledn just after that announced their rates, which went live on the 1st of April as well. Now the good news is if you have a small amount in Ledn, so less than 2 Bitcoin, you'll actually be earning a little bit more. So they boosted their base rate from 6% up to 6.1%. So on the first 2 Bitcoins you'll be earning 6.1%, and then 2 or more Bitcoins, so there's just the 2 bands for Ledn, 2 or more Bitcoins you're earning 2.25% on those going forward. So depending how much Bitcoin you have in these kind of platforms, you may well want to redistribute. What I did was I took everything over 1 Bitcoin and moved it from BlockFi into Ledn. I now have substantially more, I think 2.5 Bitcoin or something like that in Ledn, which pushes me into the lower rate tier, but I do use their B2X products, so that's why I'm happy to keep a little bit extra. There are other opportunities out there. Celsius Network, so 6.2 in the US, that's the first 2 Bitcoin I believe in for Celsius in the US. Everyone else in international 4.06. But if you have a huge number of Bitcoin, you might consider moving a small amount once you've moved that kind of like I suppose combined rate between your first 2 and the 2 plus, either in Ledn or BlockFi. You might want to consider a little bit in Celsius. Now I'm not as confident in Celsius, in the security in Celsius, as I am in BlockFi and Ledn, but obviously everyone has to make their own decisions about that. Nexo are offering 4% in base rate as well. So if you're holding a large amount of Bitcoin, once you go past a certain amount, you will be earning less in BlockFi, and then a little bit more than that you'll be earning less in Ledn. So as I mentioned, the first Bitcoin now in BlockFi 6%, everything else 2%, and then 20 and above over 0.5%, and in Ledn it's 6.1% for the first 2. So a lot of people will be seeing a little bit of a boost here for Ledn. Over to it's 2.25. So you can still get decent rates on 3 Bitcoin here, and then maybe look to redistribute elsewhere, either through these different platforms or potentially through DeFi or something like that, or even just kind of holding this in cold storage. Now at 6%, I'm happy to earn interest. 6.6%, 6.1%. I think I potentially would be happy to earn interest down to sort of 5. I think anything less than 5 in the long term, you know, I'm less likely to want to kind of hold. I do have 1 Bitcoin in Celsius that's earning, you know, 4.06 or whatever it is, and I haven't moved that out. But I think if the rates drop lower than 4, I think the risk to reward ratio certainly wouldn't make sense for me. So I would look to kind of move any remaining Bitcoin out and into kind of cold storage. And this is just basically